She tells him, ooh, love, no one's ever gonna hurt you, love. I'm gonna give you all of my love. Nobody matters like you.
The list of 11 countries that hold the most gold in their reserves has remained mostly unchanged over the last few years. Flip through this slideshow to discover which central banks value the yellow metal the most. 11. Netherlands. 612.5 tons. The Dutch central bank announced that it will be moving its gold vaults from Amsterdam to Camp Nou Amsterdam, about an hour outside the city, citing burdensome security measures of its current location. As many others have pointed out, this seems odd, given that the bank fairly recently repatriated a large amount of its gold from the United States. Number 10. India. 618.2 tons. It's no surprise that the Bank of India has one of the largest stores of gold in the world. The South Asian country, home to 1.25 billion people, is the second largest consumer of the precious metal, and is one of the most reliable drivers of global demand. India's festival and wedding season, which runs from October to December, has historically been a huge boon to gold's love trade. Number 9. Japan. 765.2 tons. Japan, the world's third largest economy, is also the largest hoarder of the yellow metal. Its central bank has been one of the most aggressive practitioners of quantitative easing. In January 2016, it lowered interest rates below zero, which has helped fuel demand for gold around the world. Number 8. Switzerland. 1,040.0 tons. In 8th place is Switzerland, which actually has the world's largest reserves of gold per capita. During World War II, the neutral country became the center of the gold trade in Europe, making transactions with both the Allies and Axis powers. Today, much of its gold trading is done with Hong Kong and China. Number 7. China. 1,936.5 tons. In the summer of 2015, the People's Bank of China began sharing its gold purchasing activity on a monthly basis for the first time since 2009. Although China comes in 7th for most gold held, the yellow metal accounts for only a small percentage of its overall reserves, a mere 2.8%, the lowest of the top 10 central banks with the most gold. China has actually been on a gold buying spree since December 2018, buying almost 100 tons from then through August. Number 6. Russia. 2,219.2 tons. The Russian central bank has been the largest buyer of gold for the past 7 years and overtook China in 2018 to have the 6th largest reserves. In 2017, Russia bought 224 tons of bullion in an effort to diversify away from the US dollar, as its relationship with the West has grown chilly since the annexation of the Crimean Peninsula in mid-2014. To raise the cash for these purchases, Russia sold a huge percentage of its US treasuries. Number 5. France. 2,436.1 tons. France's central bank has sold little of its gold over the past several years, and there are calls to halt it altogether. Marine Le Pen, president of the country's far-right National Front Party, has led the charge not only to put a freeze on selling the nation's gold but also to repatriate the entire amount from foreign vaults. Number 4. Italy. 2,451.8 tons. Italy has likewise maintained the size of its reserves over the years, and it has support from European Central Bank, ECB, President Mario Draghi. The former Bank of Italy governor, when asked by a reporter in 2013 what role gold plays in a central bank's portfolio, answered that the metal was a reserve of safety, adding, "It gives you a fairly good protection against fluctuations against the dollar." Number 3. Germany. 3,366.8 tons. In 2017, Germany completed a 4-year repatriation operation to move a total of 674 tons of gold from the Banque de France and the Federal Reserve Bank of New York back to its own vaults. First announced in 2013, the move was expected to take until 2020 to complete. Although gold demand fell in 2017 after hitting an all-time high in 2016, this European country has seen gold investing steadily rise since the global financial crisis. Number 2. United States. 8,133.5 tons. With the second largest official holdings in the world, the U.S. lays claim to nearly as much gold as the next 3 countries combined. It also has the second highest gold allocation as a percentage of its foreign reserves at 76%. From what we know, the majority of U.S. gold is held at Fort Knox in Kentucky, with the remainder held at the Philadelphia Mint, Denver Mint, San Francisco SA office and West Point Bullion Depository. Number 1. Philippines. Over 1 million tons.
They are sitting on top of the world's wealth, which was put into a secret account, and it has more gold than anybody knows about. Assets, it's gold. It's more gold than people know about. It's over 1 million metric tons of gold.
So 1 million metric tons of gold is not something you can just hide. So where's the gold?
400,000 metric tons are in the central bank of the Philippines. There's over 200,000 metric tons in Union Bank of Switzerland, and some of that gold is buried securely in the Philippines as well. Some of it is held in various banks, but the bulk of it is in the Philippines.
So the World Bank holds the note on that gold?
No. It is in a special trust account that was set up by Ferdinand Marcos.
The Philippines is the richest country in the world. Even President Ronald Reagan knows and said this. Did you know about Marcos gold? In 1930, Europe was in a depression and Germany was financially bankrupt. An unknown party leader promised the German people that he could create jobs and boost its economy. The Germans dared him and put him in power. His name is Adolf Hitler. In June 1933, the Vatican and Hitler, a Roman Catholic, signed a concordat for mutual protection and enhancement. Shortly after that, Hitler was loaded with money. He built a massive army and manufactured weapons for war. Then Hitler took Poland. Before 1918, there was no Poland. That land was part of Germany and used as a buffer zone to separate Germany from Russia. But when Hitler reclaimed it, England declared war on Germany. Throughout the Spanish occupation of the Philippines, members of the Taino clan have been visiting Europe since some of their relatives were English and Austrian. From 1866 to 1898, Prince Julian MacLeod Taino had also been frequenting the Vatican. In 1934, under Pope Pius XII, the Vatican negotiated with a member of the Filipino royal family, the Christian Taino clan in Philippines. An agreement was reached that 640,000 metric tons of the Taino gold would be lent to the Pope. This was part of that gold accumulated by the Southeast Asian Empire during its glorious reign of 900 years. In 1939, 2 members of the Taino family and a Roman Catholic priest, Father Jose Antonio Diaz, brought the gold from Cotacinabaldo, Salva, to the Vatican. After doing this, Father Diaz went back to the Philippines and resided in Cabanatuan City. After World War II, he facilitated the safe return of the 640,000 metric tons of gold from the Vatican to the Philippines. A lease agreement was made between the Taino clan and the Philippines government. A total of 617,500 metric tons of gold was deposited in the newly installed Central Bank of the Philippines to comply with its requirement for gold reserve. Under the terms of the contract, the central bank became the holder of that gold.
The World Bank and its sister organization, the International Monetary Fund, are very special organizations. They are sitting on top of the world's wealth, which was put into a secret account, and it has more gold than anybody knows about. And it is cloaked in secrecy. The bankers do not own that money. It's held in benefit for humanity. The World Bank and the IMF are listed on a special agreement that was signed in 1950 about that. Assets, it's gold. It's more gold than people know about. It's over 1 million metric tons of gold. And the World Bank and the IMF have a special role to play, making sure that that money is spent to the benefit of humanity.
So where's the gold? Some people believe that the gold in Fort Knox has disappeared. That's been in question for many years. Congressmen have attempted to get an audit of the gold in Fort Knox. So 1 million metric tons of gold is not something you can just hide. Where would you say that that gold is being stored?
400,000 metric tons are in the Central Bank of the Philippines. There's over 200,000 metric tons in Union Bank of Switzerland. And some of that gold is buried securely in the Philippines as well. Some of it is held in various banks, but the bulk of it is in the Philippines.
So the World Bank holds the note on that gold?
No. It is in a special trust account that was set up by Ferdinand Marcos, and the authorized signatory is a German banker lawyer by the name of Wolfgang Struck, who also lives in the Philippines.
So how do the people get the gold back? If it's their gold and it was taken by these bankers, how do we receive it?
That is the question. And they're just sitting there illegally and refusing to relinquish it. Part of the problem is that this gold is cloaked in secrecy. But in the last month, Wolfgang Struck has been publishing all of the documentation. So it's there for people to see. We have the originals. And people just have to make sure that the banks do what they're required to do, which is release the world's wealth.
Contact Phoenix Journal Review. Independent confirmation of the Philippines gold.
Throughout the Spanish occupation of the Maharlika, members of the Tagayan Italiano clan have been visiting Europe since some of their relatives were English and Austrian. From 1866 to 1898, Prince Julian Macleod Italiano, who became titleholder of OCT 01-4 in 1864, had also been frequenting the Vatican. In 1934, under Pope Pius XII, the Vatican negotiated with a member of the Filipino royal family, the Christian Italiano clan in the Maharlika. An agreement was reached that 640,000 metric tons of the Italiano gold would be lent to the Pope. This was part of that gold accumulated by the Southeast Asian Srivijaya Majapahit Empire during its glorious reign of 900 years. In 1939, two members of the Italiano family and a Roman Catholic priest, Father Jose Antonio Diaz, brought the gold from Kota Kinabalu, Sabah, to the Vatican. After doing this, Father Diaz went back to the Maharlika and resided in Cabanatuan City. After World War II, he facilitated the safe return of the 640,000 metric tons of gold from the Vatican to the Maharlika. Manuel Acuña Rojas, a relative of the Acuña Tagayan Italiano clan, then a congressman, and Bishop Enrique Sobrepena Sr., in the presence of attorney Lorenzo Tañada, received the gold in Manila. Having gained the trust and confidence of Father Diaz, the Italiano clan made him the main negotiator and trustee of their gold. Father Diaz, in turn, hired the services of attorney Ferdinand Marcos, then a highly recommended brilliant young lawyer, having attained notoriety when he successfully defended himself in the Nalundasan case in 1939. The Italiano clan paid commission to Father Diaz and attorney Marcos in gold, 30% from the principal of 640,000 metric tons. In 1949, the two richest men in the world were Father Jose Antonio Diaz and attorney Ferdinand Marcos. Between the two of them, they legitimately earned and owned 192,000 metric tons of gold. Ferdinand Marcos withdrew their share of the gold from the central bank and minted it, RPCB. Sometime later, Father Diaz and Marcos brought their gold to Switzerland, in the Swiss Bank Corporation in Zurich. The remaining 400,000 metric tons of Italiano gold is in the third-floor basement of the central bank minting plant in East Avenue, Quezon City. Gold for gold, dollar for dollar, this country, the Maharlika, is the richest country in the world. During a talk show in a U.S. TV the week following the bombing of the New York Twin Towers, President Bush was asked this question, which is the richest country in the world today? With a smile he said, the Philippines.
On April 9, 1973, Marcos said, "My earthly goods have been placed in the custody and for the disposition of the Marcos Foundation, dedicated to the welfare of the Filipino people."